Yeah, thank you, everyone. You know, I was over there and said, nice to see you, Jerry. Huh? You laugh. Over there. Way to put up with that. Hey, nice to see you, Jerry. All right. Good job. Feelings all that. Thank you for noticing. Hey, this morning we're going with the Thanksgiving theme, and really the focus of our program is a message of gratitude. Our speaker is David Brooke, who is also known as David George Brooke, that gratitude guy. So I think we've got a perfect match for what we're trying to accomplish here today. David is a speaker, teacher, life coach, and best-selling author of 25 years. Books that he has written include Happiness Starts with Gratitude, Gratitude Nuggets to Chew On, and The Brooker's Daily Journal of Gratitude. David is originally from Spokane, born and raised in Spokane until he moved to Seattle, where he graduated from Queen Anne High School. He has his degree in business administration from the University of Washington. Has over 30 years, spent over 30 years in the corporate world, including being a manager of a Lowe's home improvement store and also a Nordstrom store. David is a member of Seattle 4 Rotary, so he's got quite a range of Rotary clubs to look at here, between 800 or 1,000 or whatever it is in membership there compared to what we have here. David he lives in Issaquah, and I guess I'll start off with some gratitude of my own, having left home last night, not even this morning, to be with us today. Coming all the way from Issaquah is quite a commitment to us. So David, thank you very much for your efforts. But David, he has dedicated much of his time here to speaking at schools and prisons and community groups such as ours, sharing the message of how gratitude can enhance your life. So David is here to share with us today, and please welcome David.
Thank you, Vic. Where'd Bill Evans go?
Bill's out.
I always appreciate being invited to many groups to speak, and I didn't realize I'd be following Jerry Seinfeld today. I have kind of a serious topic here. Let me just get started. By show of hands, how many people here have suffered a significant personal loss in your life? Thank you. Everywhere I go, I'm very fortunate, as Vic had said, to speak to all different types of groups, and all the way from schools to retirement homes and everywhere in between, prisons, community groups, and so forth. It's always about 80 or 90% of the people that raise their hands. And I will tell you about my significant loss in my life. It was September 29th, 1998. It was a Tuesday. I woke up, I looked over to my right, and my wife wasn't there in bed. About 6 in the morning. I thought, that's very strange. And just then, Connor, my 4-year-old, comes walking in. Where's Mom? I don't know. Let's find her. So I get out of bed, and as we're walking towards the bedroom door, Kyle, my 14-year-old, comes in. Same question. Same answer. We don't know. So we look in a couple of rooms, we walk down the hallway, and we look downstairs, and in front of the washer and dryer, Dana is face down, kind of curled over. Something doesn't look right. So we run down there. I turn her over. Stuff's coming out of her mouth. Connor starts crying. I said to Kyle, go call the fire department, call police, call whatever. And within a matter of a few minutes, there must have been 20 or 25 people in our house. And they had Dana out on the floor and had those tubes and wires and paddles and that shock thing and all that kind of thing. Most surrealistic thing I'd ever been through. Only time I'd ever seen something like that was on TV. So for those of you, and I was talking to Bill earlier about making eye contact versus having PowerPoint. I've never been a big fan of PowerPoint. People that come up and talk to me afterwards, so many people have been through something like this, had some sort of a trauma. Well, those of you that have been through this, and again, you saw how many people suffered a significant loss, will tell you that time loses all measure. And this little short fire person comes over to me and says, Mr. Brooke, we've been working on your wife for an hour and a half. We still don't have a heartbeat. Would you like us to continue? And even in a state of shock, being numb, your body goes into shock to kind of protect it. Your brain still works to some degree, and I knew it was an hour and a half with no heartbeat. And I realized at that point, never before in my life had I been in a position to make a life and death decision for somebody else. And I said, no, you can stop. And she was dead. She was 38 years old. As I mentioned, Connor was 4, Kyle was 14. And I realized it wasn't just that in my life. Vic was talking about my history growing up. I did grow up in Spokane and moved to Seattle. I had a father that was a good attorney. I saw him in court many times. He chose to end his life with a shotgun. I'll never understand it. My mom had died of cancer when I was younger. Queen Anne High School, it's no longer there. 2 of my best friends were killed the night I graduated from high school. It just went on and on and on. Buddies of mine in Vietnam. I remember thinking, at some point in my life, I'm going to have to figure out how to process this. And about 2 or 3 days after Dana died, I walked up, we had this little deck, and we had friends in our house for days, bringing food and trying to do everything that they could. But I walked up on the deck by myself, and I remember like yesterday, it was 15 years ago, last couple months ago, I remember pinching myself and going, I am just a little human being with some skin and bone and cartilage and things like this. I don't know how I'm going to deal with this. And I looked up, and it was kind of for Seattle, it's actually some blue up there, it was surprising. And I just stared at the sky for a few minutes, and for the first time in my life, I realized why people killed themselves. We lived about 2 or 3 miles, we were at Green Lake, about 2 or 3 miles from the Aurora Bridge. That's no big deal, you just walk over there, you just jump over the bridge, it's over. The pain is over, because I didn't think I could handle it. But I thought about it for about 5 minutes, and then I made a decision, I'm not doing that. It's off the table. And once you make a decision like that, you don't even consider that as an option. It's done. I'm not going to do it. They have lost their mother. I'm not going to have them lose their dad too. So I'm going to deal with this. But I realized it really comes down to how you look at something. And that's why I said I love looking at people versus the PowerPoints and everything, so I can look at every face in the room. I was just at a place Saturday, there were about 400 people, these teachers. And I could see everybody across this whole room. How do you process that? How do you deal with it? It depends on how you look at it. So I know it's early in the morning, but I'd like you all to stand up if you'd be so kind. And we had a great breakfast and everything, so we're just going to do a quick little exercise stretch. I'd like you to take your right arm, put it up top, and start circling in a clockwise manner. Now there is a clock there, up on that wall, for anybody that's not certain, and I have one here if you're uncertain which way clockwise is. You know, it's a digital world. It's a digital world that we're in. So keep it going clockwise, get that nice stretch there. Now start bringing it slowly down. Keep it going clockwise. Keep it coming slowly down to your face, your chin, your chest. And now about your waist. Now what direction is it going? What is it? Counterclockwise. Thank you. You can sit down.
Wow.
Okay, look over here. There's always a few people still doing this. It's just my favorite. As Vic had mentioned, I did graduate from college, and I have some friends that are a heck of a lot smarter than I am. And they've seen me talk, and they go, so what's the story on that circle thing? The people actually start going in a different direction. What are you talking about? I said that you look at it from above and below. It's how you look at it. I know, but did they change? Forget it. I said it's just something other than the glass half full or the glass half empty, okay? It's a way for people to get involved. But what I realized is that there were certain things that started to fall in place for me. Later on in a few minutes I'll tell you about gratitude and how that entered my life. But you've got to get gratitude. You've got to get it. It's a healthy coping mechanism in this world of just tons of destructive coping mechanisms, many of them deadly. Dana had died of a prescription pill overdose. She got hooked on Vicodin and OxyContin and all that junk. We met at Nordstrom, and I got a call one day, and it was a friend of mine who was a cop, and she'd been arrested for prescription fraud. I'd never seen anybody like this before. It's not something I'd ever done. She was in detox 2 or 3 different times. And I remember Dr. Dickinson called me at this Everett Recovery Center hospital. I need to talk to you. Come on in. So we come in, and they're having visiting day, and here's all the people that are addicted. We all know this is a huge problem in our world. I guarantee it's affected a lot of people in this room. It's amazing. Points out, see, he's a doctor, she's a dentist, and he went through, and I said, well, that's super, but I'm really concerned about the blonde gal right there. He goes, I know. I just want to talk to you. I want to let you know what you're up against. He says 1 in 20 in that room will come back to a normal life. That's it. And of the 19 that don't, half of them will be dead within the next year. And she died about 6 months later. That 1 in 20 became something I really started to focus on when they do workshops and things. I thought, what is that about? That's 5%. You ask 20 people to do something, how many people do it? You send out 20 emails, you tell 20 people to buy a book. How many people actually do it? So I always ask people, and this isn't a workshop today, I've just got 25 minutes, but are you the one or are you one of the 19? It's a personal answer, you can decide. But I realized that you can't give up. That was the first thing, was embracing gratitude, understanding it helps you and makes you focus on everything you're grateful for and you have in your life versus what do we focus on all the time? What we don't have. Just watch the news. Wish I had that car, wish I had that house. It's always something else. Gratitude gets you completely focused on everything you have. And believe me, it's amazing how much you have when you stop and focus on it. But I realized it takes as long as it takes. I was going to be a motivational speaker when I was 19. That was 44 years ago. I'm 63 years old. I know you're thinking he doesn't look a day over 62. Still trying to compete with Bill Evans. Jiminy. But I realized, I walked out of Lowe's a couple years ago, and I said, I'm going to be a speaker. And I walked home and I told Connor, he's now 19. So I'm going to be a speaker. What are you going to speak about? Well, you know I'm going to speak about gratitude. What are we going to do for money? I'm still working on that. But I realize it takes as long as it takes, and you just can't give up. Don't ever, ever, ever give up. That's what Winston Churchill said, one of his most famous sayings among many. Well, Connor was struggling. He was 4 years old when Dana died. So we go to the kindergarten school, and she says, your son's all messed up. And I can't even keep it together. I'm crying half the time, just getting through the days, trying to deal with this. Kyle struggled in his own way, and Connor did as well. So she said, we want to put him through a bunch of tests. So they put him through a bunch of tests, and it turns out that, she says, he's got all sorts of problems. Occupational therapy, physical, and they do bouncing balls, and all this kind of thing. And then when they're done, they say, have him go wait in the car, and you sit right here, we're going to talk to you. And they're kind of rude about it. And we lived by Green Lake, as I said, and they said to me, your son's going to have a very terrible life. He's going to have a tough time in school, anything. He's going to tell you right now. And I said, well, can he play sport? He didn't like to play sports. And so, well, I was a pretty decent athlete. I'm hoping that he'll be the quarterback at Roosevelt High School. He starts laughing. No. Never forgot. So I left, and I got in the car, and I just burst into tears. I couldn't stop crying for like a 20-minute drive home. Connor kept going, what's wrong, Daddy? Couldn't tell him. But he struggled. He struggled through school. I had to hold him back in first grade, and he did have a tough time. But he also wanted to play baseball. And he kept trying, he kept trying, he kept trying. How many people here have kids? Almost the majority. So you know that have gone through those, or school, or sports, or anything. So the first thing you play in baseball is t-ball. Now, would you explain to me how when the ball is sitting on the tee, you can't hit it? I don't understand it. Connor would swing, and he'd miss the ball. And I go, Connor, and I tried to be the best dad through these tough circumstances. But he kept swinging. I go, lower, lower. Finally, he'd hit the tee about halfway from the ground. The ball would dribble off forward. He's like, I got to hit. Connor, that's not the concept. But he kept trying. Coach pitch and through all the stages. And he was about 10 or 11 years old. Still couldn't play much, but he kept going out every year. Couldn't catch, couldn't run, couldn't hit, couldn't throw. Other than that, he was not too bad when he got to play. But we get to May 31st, 2005. They're down 7-6. It's the bottom of the seventh. He hasn't played. And there's guys on second and third, and there's 2 out. I look over, oh my Lord. Guess who's coming out of the dugout? It's Connor. And none of the other kids ever look at their parents. But, oh, Dad, oh, Connor. Dad, I'm up! So I do the only thing that seems logical. Lord, how about a walk? Maybe a hit by a pitch. Or I'm begging here. Connor walks up, ball 1, strike 1, ball 2, full count. Next pitch comes in, he just rips it. down the third base line. Goes just inside the bag into left field. The guy from third comes in to score. The guy from second is rounding third. He's heading towards home. Here comes the ball. Here comes the guy. Here's the catcher. The guy catches it. They crash together. The ball pops out. They win 8-7. Connor is standing by himself at second base, of course, waving to me. None of the other kids even acknowledge their parents, not Connor. Got a hit. I have a lump in my throat the size of a baseball. The entire team goes out to second base, puts Connor on their shoulders and carries him off the field. One of the single greatest moments of my life. I couldn't talk for an hour and a half. Kyle was there as well, my older son. When we got home that night, I sat Connor down on the bed and I said, you know what, Connor? It was never about baseball, ever. It was the fact that you never gave up. You never, ever gave up. He went on to play baseball. He graduated from Bothell High School last year, and he was a leadoff hitter. Phenomenal baseball player. But he never gave up. I look at these people that Colonel Sanders he started Kentucky Fried Chicken at 63. Walt Disney went out and got financing for Disney World, I should say, after talking to hundreds of banks. Sylvester Stallone, all sorts of financing troubles to get Rocky going. It goes on, you can't give up. So once you understand about what gratitude can do for you, if you don't give up and you realize it takes as long as it takes. Again, I'm a lot older. I thought I was going to be somebody special. Still don't think I am, but I thought it was when I was going to be in my 20s. Now I'm in my 60s. It doesn't matter. Then you got to learn how to clear out your brain. You got to get rid of junk. You have to get rid of junk. When you go out in those cars today, notice how big your windshield is. It's about 2 feet deep. It's about 4 feet wide. You're driving forward. And then notice the size of the rearview mirror. It's about like that. It's about 100 to 1. Mostly you want to be looking forward. Pay attention a little bit to that rearview mirror, but mostly be looking forward. Now, if you see some blue lights flashing, fine, pull over. But really pay attention to what's ahead. Because it really does come down to how you look at your life, learn from the past, but mostly go forward. So that brings me to the most important thing that I talk about is this gratitude journal and gratitude. A buddy of mine says to me, "You are not doing well." I said, "No, I'm not." And he says, "You need to get a gratitude journal." Now, how many people here have ever heard of a gratitude journal? Just several. I had not. How many have ever heard of a journal? Or how many have ever seen a journal anywhere? Thank you. Well, I had not. So I got a gratitude journal. Ordered on Amazon. This is mine, but I ordered one before I did my own. And I did something that a lot of people do. I just put it on the shelf, didn't touch it. But then one day I decided to start writing in it. And all these amazing things happen. It takes 7.5 minutes a day is all it takes. Now this looks like a pretty in-shape crowd, so I'm going to tell you that's less than 8-minute abs. That's a small commitment. But it was amazing what started to happen. Things started to happen because I reframed and refocused on everything I was grateful for. And I only probably told you half of the tragedies I suffered because I don't want to go into too much detail to make this too much of a downer because I refuse to let it define my life. There was a lot more other tragedies came along the way. That's okay. Because I'm going to spread this word of gratitude, and it doesn't matter what the story is. I hear tremendous stories, and I do 2 or 3 of these talks a week after I'm done that just give me the chills, and I go, God bless you for hanging in there. But what I decided is I'm going to make my own. So I made this one called the Brooker's Daily Gratitude Journal. It's got a little bit of a structure to it where it says on the left-hand side, gratitude today, the day and the date, November 16th, 17th, 18th, whatever today is. And then your daily number. Your daily number is 1 to 10. 10 is maybe one of the best days of your life. 1 is maybe one of the worst. But you figure out what that number is every day, and then you can anchor what's going on in your life based around that number. A couple of lines for special occasions, current events, in case you want to not have to have a journal as well or a diary. Everything you're grateful for here, and then the highlight of your day. Every so often people, what about the low light? Are you listening to the program? This is a upper, not a downer. Right-hand side, very important, your gratitude intentions. Your subconscious mind cannot distinguish the difference between what happens and what it thinks is going to happen. You can program it. So you write everything here like it's already happened and you're grateful for it. I write all the time, I'm grateful for the successful keynote talk I did on Saturday or what have you. I'm speaking to a church this Sunday, 3 different services, and I'm already grateful for that opportunity. But it takes 7.5 minutes. And people ask me too, the younger crowds at schools, questions, do you have an app? No, I don't have an app. Actually, I do. But, hold on. So you just press it, the Brooker's Gratitude Journal. I'm so grateful to Vic Olsh for inviting me and meeting Bill and following Bill Evans and so on and so forth, and just types it. It's not the same. If you think about it, it's like a dream. If you talk about it, it inspires you. But if you write about it, it empowers you. Why did we take notes in high school and college? You can go back and you can see, why was I in such a fired up mood that day? Why was this a tough day? What did I do to get through that day? That's what a gratitude journal will do for you. Now this is my own. This is the Brooker's Daily Gratitude Journal. I sell them. You can buy mine. I don't care if you have a spiral notebook. Just something to start recording every day. Spend that 7 or 8 minutes. So I want to do a little bit of an exercise. You don't have to get out of your seats or even stand up. But I just asked you about 1 to 10. And I want you to very individually think, what is your number right now? No halves. What is your number right now? People will ask, what do you mean right now? Just right this very moment. You're sitting here at McLeod's at Rotary. How do you feel? 1 through 10. And I'm going to kind of ask you to raise your hands in a second. I love this guy.
You can have them. No, he's mine.
What was that word, Vic? Knuckleheads we were using? I grew up with that word. I love that word. So I want you to think about your number. I'm going to ask you to raise your hands in a second. But first of all, if you're a 1 to a 5, I don't want you to raise your hands. If you're having a tough day, I don't want to embarrass anybody. But just by show of hands, have everybody got their number? How many people here are a 6? Okay, 1, 2. How many are a 7? Pretty good chunk. How many are 8s? Wow, nice. 9s? Okay, and any 10s? 3 10s, phenomenal. Excellent. So, here's what I want you to do. It's very personal. It's just you, yourself, and I, the 3 of you. I want you to think about the single most thing you are grateful for. The single most thing you're grateful for in your life. I'm not going to give you any hints. I know what they are for me. I write them every morning. Actually wrote them in the parking lot this morning. I was here early. Okay, you got that in your mind. Now, the second thing is, I want you to think, what was the highlight of your day yesterday? What was the best thing that happened to you yesterday? And just plant that. So think about those. The number one thing you're grateful for in your life, you don't have to share it with anybody, and the highlight of your day yesterday. Okay, so just focus on those for just 5 seconds. Really get them planted in there. So let's try this again. 1 to 5, don't raise your hand. How many 6s in the room? None. How many 7s? A few have bounced up from 6s. How many 8s? Okay, a few more. How many 9s? Wow, quite a few more. And how many 10s? 1, 2, 3, about 4 or 5 more. When I do a workshop, I don't have time on a short program like this, but I actually have people write it down. There's a visceral effect. It starts as a thought in your brain, this CPU up here, goes to your heart, your arm, your hand, your pen, and onto the paper. I'm so grateful to Vic. I'm so grateful to Gina. It doesn't matter. There's something about writing it. But just you could see that effect right there by focusing on that. That's the power of a gratitude journal. I find so many people have excuses for why their life isn't where they want it to be. I've had people say, well, you know, Dave, Mr. Gratitude Guy, whatever your name is, I like this journal, but, you know, it doesn't really lay flat. And I just go, well, I won't tell you when I go. But I will tell you how powerful this journal is. I had a mother that died of cancer, as I mentioned, but before that she was manic depressive, and she would get, she'd threaten suicide all the time with me. And I was my late teens, early 20s, and she'd shake this bottle of sleeping pills. I'm going to kill myself unless you don't come over here. I thought, what a... Thanks, Mom. But I think she was bipolar. And I don't think I got the manic part. Some friends of mine might disagree, but I definitely got some of the depression piece. But But I'm not going to drink, I'm not going to do drugs, I'm not going to do that nonsense. Look what happened to all these people in my life. But I woke up one day, I was at 2. And as I said, it's very personal. So I grabbed my journal, I drove down to a Starbucks. I got my journal and I wrote in it, and it bumped me up to about 4 or 5. That felt better, but I'm usually an 8, 9, or 10 guy. Then I went up to Burlington Chamber, did a talk, and afterwards these people came up to me, and this one lady was crying. People get kind of emotional sometimes with some of these stories. But I want to tell them how they can have hope for themselves, not just my stories, but the fact that I walked through it. And she goes, "You just changed my life." Her name was Nancy. And I said, "Well, thank you, Nancy." I said, "I don't think I did, but I said, I've given you some tools, I hope, that'll help you change it." She goes, "I don't care." And I said, "What was it?" She goes, "I can't tell you, it's too emotional." So she gets some journals and things, and I go out to the car, and I'm driving back to Seattle, and I got this big smile on my face, and I realize I'm a 9 now. From a 2 to a 9. Didn't have a drink, didn't snort any coke or all this other crap. And then I did something that was kind of embarrassing, but I'm pretty transparent. I took the rearview mirror and I looked at myself and I went, "I'm so freaking proud of you." I mean, I was running a Lowe's store before that. Where are the hammers and nails? That's important. Bill Evans was talking about getting some fittings for a faucet. Yeah, let's see, changing lives or which fitting? Which would you choose? But I realized too, I was going to call Connor. If you ever want to know who your best friend is in your life, who's the first person you call with really good or really bad news? That's how you know. So I was going to call Connor, but I just chose to just drive back to Seattle, being the Mr. 9 to Mr. 9.5. That's the power of this. How's my time, Gina? A few minutes. Okay, I want to do a couple more things. I want to give away a book. So if you can take out your business cards, and I'll have Gina collect these real quick for those that have them. And I love to give away a book wherever I can. Oh, and by the way, I send out a video every Monday at 7:45, a 2-minute video on gratitude. If you don't want to get the video, just put an X on your card. And I want to tell you briefly, as Gina's collecting those, this is one of several books I've done. This is called Happiness Starts with Gratitude. It's just 50 stories around gratitude that have really changed my life. And this is the one I'm going to give away today, and we'll just draw this in a second. But I also want to mention something else. I was mentioning to Gina and Bill and Vic, I believe it was, and Mr. Bill, the first Bill I met, about Rotary, service above self. And when you get it, that it's not about you, I'm just delivering a message of gratitude, and this is not about me. This is about delivering a message. So whether it's a book or a gratitude journal or you get your own spiral notebook, I'm fine. But I also like to make sure we're always humble and that humility is an important piece. And about 3 or 4 months ago, I was at, I think it was a Rotary, it might have been a Lions, but I drew for a book and people, you know, Vic Olsch, and they all clapped, you know, and there was a gal. So she comes up front, and so I give her the book, as I normally do. Here you go, congratulations. Clap, clap, clap. And I said, you know, she starts to walk away. And as she's walking away, I said, you know, if you'd like, later I'll sign that for you. She turns back, she goes, "That's okay." So whoever wins this, I'll pay you $20 to have me sign it for you. Jack Stodden. Okay. You just leave those. You take that back to Jack. Jack, $20 to make sure I sign that for you. All right, last thing I'd like to talk about, and I'll wrap up. Embracing gratitude, just if you can just remember these 4 or 5 things. Embracing gratitude, focusing on everything you're grateful for. Don't ever, ever give up. I don't care how old you are. It takes as long as it takes. Each one of our journeys is individual. Clear the junk out of your brain. Get rid of that stuff. I cannot tell you how many times when I talk to people individually, they start talking about an ex-husband or an ex-wife. Who cares? It's in the past. Don't keep putting it in front of you and keep driving over it again. That's why that windshield's so important. Get a gratitude journal. If you get mine, great. If not, get a spiral. I don't care. 7 minutes a day. And the last thing is sharing gratitude. When you share things, you enhance the experience exponentially. I was going skydiving years ago, and I got 7 of my buddies. And I made a reservation for Issaquah skydiving, Brook, party of 8. And then it was 7. And then it was 6. And then the Wednesday before that Saturday, there was 3 of us. I walk into Issaquah skydiving. Hi, Brook, party of 8 for skydiving. Where's your friends? I don't have any. I went skydiving by myself. And so I thought about it. When you don't get to share something, you get to have that story. So I would ask you to think about your purpose. Think about your legacy. What are you doing with the gifts that you've been given in your life? Because this life is going by very fast. But when you get to share it, it's so much bigger and better. Laurel mentioned something about wanting to be a pilot. Well, I've been a pilot for a lot of years. And I was flying down by ocean shores once, and I was a VFR pilot, or AM, Visual Flight Rules. I'm in between cloud layers. I'm not supposed to be there. And I'm just like frozen. All of a sudden the sun comes in, just hits these two cloud layers. And I'm going 150 knots, and the colors are like blue and green and red. And it's just like a scene out of a space odyssey. And I'm just hanging on to this yoke for dear life. And it must have lasted for a minute or two. Maybe it felt like 10 seconds, maybe a minute or two. And then bam, I pop out and I'm back over the ocean. And the sun and the sand, and I turn to the right and I go, wasn't that the cool, did you see the blue and the red and the silver and the way that red thing shot in there and all this? I was flying by myself. Nobody ever got to see that. I can only try to explain it to you, but as you can imagine, it's pretty hard to explain without seeing it. I didn't get to share that with anybody. So understand that sharing it makes such a big difference too. I'm telling you, gratitude can change your life. It can transform your life. I feel it saved my life, and it can save yours too. Thanks a lot.
Thank you for sharing your gratitude with us this morning. A donation in your name will be made to Rotary International Polio Plus program that will vaccinate 40 children against the polio virus.
Thank you, Gina.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right. So Rotary opportunity here, Larry.
So, for years, the people went out to